This is the first video in a series that examines the last battles of the Confederate Army in Alabama. The Forgotten Triumph, unveiling the Battle of Fort Blakely. Imagine the lush landscapes of Alabama, the determination of soldiers, and the strategic brilliance of commanders.
When the order for the federal assault to begin at 5:30 p.m. was given, nearly 16,000 men all along the 3-mile-wide line stepped out from their trenches and made their way towards Fort Blakely. In an instant, the full weight of rebel ordnance in front of them was directed at the attackers. The charge was one of the largest of the entire war, and a spectacle unlike anything seen in the war on the Gulf Coast before or since. It was a glorious sight, remembered one observer, a line of 15,000 men marching steady into the jaws of death. Every step we made was marked by a howling storm of shells and balls, which felt like hailstones all about us, remembered one soldier. Federal troops had reached the main Confederate line within a few minutes, though the battle would rage on for nearly another half hour. In a matter of just 45 minutes, it would all be over. Fort Blakely lay in Federal hands. Its garrison had been captured, and hundreds of men in blue and gray would be laying dead or wounded all along the battlefield. None who survived it would forget the drama.
The Battle of Fort Blakely took place from April 2nd to April 9th, 1865 in Baldwin County, Alabama, about 6 miles north of Spanish Fort, Alabama, as part of the Mobile campaign of the American Civil War. At the time, Blakely, Alabama had been the county seat of Baldwin County. The Battle of Blakely was the final major battle of the Civil War, with surrenders just hours after Grant had accepted the surrender of Lee at Appomattox in the afternoon of April 9, 1865. Mobile, Alabama was the last major Confederate port to be captured by the Union forces on April 12, 1865. After the assassination of President Lincoln on April 15, 1865, other Confederate surrenders continued into June 1865. The background: Major General Edward Canby's Union forces moved along the eastern shore of Mobile Bay, forcing the Confederates back into their defenses. Union forces then concentrated on Spanish Fort, Alabama, and nearby Fort Blakely. By April 1st, Union forces had enveloped Spanish Fort, thereby releasing more troops to focus on Fort Blakely. Union forces built 3 rings of earthworks, reaching ever closer until 1,000 yards from the Fort Blakely front. Confederate Brigadier General John Liddell, with about 4,000 men, held out against a much larger Union force until Spanish Fort fell on April 8th in the Battle of Spanish Fort. This allowed Canby to concentrate 16,000 men for the attack on Fort Blakely. The battle. The final assault began on April 9th, led by Brigadier General John Hawkins. Sheer numbers breached the Confederate earthworks, compelling the Confederates, including Liddell, to surrender within about 30 minutes in the final assault at 5:30 p.m. The aftermath. The casualty figures are approximate, but an estimated 75 Confederate soldiers were killed, with over 2,800 captured, and 150 Union troops were killed, with 650 wounded during the siege and assault. The siege and capture of Fort Blakely was basically the last combined force battle of the war, yet it is criticized by some, such as Ulysses S. Grant, as an ineffective contribution to Union war effort due to Canby's lateness in engaging his troops. The battle was actually fought hours after the Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox. The battle is considered the last major battle of the Civil War, with the exception of Battle of Columbus, Georgia, fought a few days later. African American forces play a major role in the successful Union attack, with 5,000 colored troops of the Union USCT brought through Pensacola, Florida. 2 days later, the 2 nearby island batteries in the Blakely River were abandoned. After this battle, Union forces were finally able to occupy the city of Mobile, Alabama on April 12, 1865. The site of the battle is now a historical park, Historic Blakely State Park. The American Battlefield Trust and its partners, including the Historic Blakely Foundation, have saved 126 acres of Fort Blakely battlefield through mid-2023. As we conclude our exploration of the Battle of Fort Blakely, let's reflect on the lessons we can learn from this pivotal moment in American history. The bravery, sacrifice, and strategic thinking displayed during this battle serve as a reminder of the complexities and challenges of war. In the end, the Battle of Fort Blakely reminds us of the importance of understanding our past, honoring the sacrifices of those who came before us, and striving for a more peaceful future. Thank you for joining me on this journey through history. Have a good day, guys.